Hi, my name is Sarah Palmer. I'm currently doing my first year teaching at Canyon School District at a school called Oak Hollow. I'm teaching third grade. So for number one, what skills and strategies do you use that effectively engage students in learning? I like using a couple different strategies to help my students be engaged. One of the main ones that I like doing is close reading when we're reading a text. I like using that when we're going reading together. That way I can see that they're all following along and they're filling in a missing word for me often so that I can tell that they're with me. Another thing I like doing is cold calling. So I like using popsicle sticks to help my students stay engaged and know that they're not going to be called in a specific way. It's totally random. So they have to follow along to understand what it is that they need to be doing. I also really like checking for understanding and using engagement by having my students use whiteboards. Whiteboards are one thing that really help them stay focused because they like using a new tool, and that way they can show me the whiteboard when they need to, and I can check and see who's understanding and who's not. I like using different ways like thumbs up, thumbs side, thumbs down, or fist to five to check for understanding. That way they're just holding it close to their chest and they're showing me what they know. Doesn't have to worry about anyone around them or what they're doing. For how will my students benefit with me as their educator, I really like focusing on each individual student's needs and how I can help them. So I differentiate a lot with my students and I work hard to make sure that they're learning what they need to do and they're making the growth that they need to. So I focus on both academic and emotional strengths and how I can help them grow, and I differentiate and adjust scaffolding techniques and work with them individually to help them meet those needs and help them feel listened to and like they are making growth and being successful. How would I use assessment to improve student learning outcomes? So by using assessments, I can tell which of my students are making growth and which ones are maybe maintaining. This way I can see who's ahead and who doesn't need as much information and who might be falling behind. So this shows me what they're falling behind in or what they need extra scaffolding in or extra information. And I can go back and reteach that information to them and help them catch up with what they're learning in. It helps me to fill in those gaps a little bit and see where it's that missing pieces instead of just trying to guess on what they're confused on. And I can also see who's going ahead and who might need just some extra help going ahead so they don't need to be pulled back by something that they already know. A time that I've used assessment data to improve student learning outcomes. So recently I did a math test with my students and I had a couple of my students fall behind a little bit on a certain subject, and based on the question that they did, most of my students got a question wrong. So based on that, it let me know that I didn't teach it in a way that they understood it, and I had to go back and reteach it to help them better understand. So I was able to go back and work on that question as a class and that understanding, and when I reevaluated, they better understood the question and they better understood how to move on. That way on the next topic we could build on it and they weren't as confused on what they were supposed to do. For number 3, how will you plan lessons to develop intentional learning outcomes to meet the diverse needs of student population? So with learning outcomes, I always check and look what the success criteria and our learning intentions are for the lesson. So I focus on what those are, and then I look at how I can create a lesson that's meeting those needs. So for example, in math right now, we're currently learning about fractions. So I go through the unit and I break down how can I teach them about fractions in a way that they can understand and that I can build upon it. So instead of just throwing them into it, I'm building it brick by brick so that they can have that house by the end and they can have that understanding built. I look at the different knowledge of our students. So my lower ones, I look at different manipulatives and different ways that I can teach them so we can understand it. I typically pull my lower students into small group so that I can teach them more one-on-one, while my higher students are working more individually and working faster through what they need to do and adding on some extra knowledge to help them. I like to do the I do section all together and then the we do all together, and then I break it up a little bit in I do. So my higher kids are working more individually and my lower kids I can go help one-on-one so that they can better gain that understanding and get some more one-on-one work together so I can see where their gaps in their knowledge are. This way I can see who's getting what and what questions they're having a hard time understanding. All right, thank you.